Just setting up right now to get the column on its back again, and this is the fixed way side, which is all scraped in straight now, and we've checked the knee moving, and it's running, pretty straight. I think about 25 microns, about 1 thou last time we checked it. So now what I'm trying to do is, I've already done some scraping on this gibed side, some step scraping, because there was a bow in it. It was worn in the middle here, and down at the bottom here. I think this was our smallest measurement across the two at this point right here. And our largest obviously was up here at the top, where there's no wear. Doesn't get used very much up there. So we're just going to go back through and just kind of check our progress of scraped this section once, twice, 3 times, once down here. So just kind of checking our progress at this point. So I'm going to re-verify this section here that I haven't scraped. I'm just going across a couple of pins here. About 1 thou different from my last measurement, so I just want to It's about 22 right there. So again, just checking across between the fixed way, gibed way side, making sure that you got to make sure they're parallel. So just a couple of pins. I lost the battery, so I was measuring this, and this is where we ended up with, so it's, whatever, it's 8, I think it's 8 inches, whatever, but it's 22 and 3/10, 21.5, 21.8, 21.8, 21.8, 22.5, 23.3, all the way up to the top. So this is the top of the column up here, and then this is just a little gauge that I had made up. It's not the most sturdy. It's got contact on each of the ways, and then 2 contact points to keep it parallel to the fixed gibed side, and it's a micron indicator, and it's kind of showing the same thing, that there's about 25 microns, which is what we're measuring. We'll go all the way from 21.8 to 23.3. So that's about 1 thou and 5/10. So I still got some scraping to do. It's this here section, this is a fairly large section that's coming in at about 21.8, which means, you know, we're 3/10 down here in this section from being, you know, roughly about not quite half of the whole thing being parallel. This side we're going to take some off, which is not worn because it's at the bottom, and then obviously up at the top where it doesn't get a lot of use, we got to pull that in. This is the gibed side of the column, and you can see I've got some hieroglyphics on there. That's just kind of, that's the measurement across the two ways, from the fixed way side to the gibed side. And so we've been scraping, we're finally getting some decent readings. I did some step scraping, which is just, you know, without really bluing or anything. You just section off the length that you want to cover, and then you step in increments just to try and straighten it out. So that's the point where we're at, and then we started bluing, and you can see down here at the bottom, this is the bottom where the crank, elevator crank would be. So that first 4 or 5 inches there is good, and then it's a low spot in the middle where it's mostly used, and then up here at the top, you can see we got some good spotting up there at the 6 or 8 inches. So it won't take long now. That'll come in all the way across there. This is the gibed side of the column, and I've just flipped it back over to start scraping again, but I had it on its back and measuring across the from the fixed side to the gibed side, and this is the bottom. That's the crank. That's the knee crank position. So this bottom and the top are out by about 2/10, the top being wider. So I scraped another cycle up here at the top, and now just scraping both the bottom and the top concurrently now, and trying to get them to join in the middle here. Still working on the gibed side of the column, and you can really see starting to get close. This is about, that's about 10 inches there, and then again, I apologize for the light source, but this is the best. This is the best for me for scraping. When I have a single source, I can see marking much better. So down at the bottom here, we got probably good 16 inches starting to show markings, and then I got about 8 inches there not marking, and then the top 6 or 8 inches is starting to come in. So probably at this point now, what I try to do is I try to pick out just the very high spots, which are actually it's hard to see it. I'm not sure how it shows up on the camera, but there's a shiny spot within. Let's see if I can move the light around here. You end up with a shiny spot within a blue area, and that's actually the peak. And the blue is, if you can imagine a peak of a mountain, with a white cap, with a white snow cap on it, I guess, is how I picture it. And then down below is the blue, the marking, right, that the peak is so high that the blue doesn't stay on it, it scrapes off. So anyway, a few more cycles on this and we'll be getting really close. I'm hoping this shows up. This is the point at which, you know, you continue to work the bluing into the master. You don't add anymore, you just keep using and using and using. So this, again, this is the top of the gib side of the column. And this is about the point at which we were losing the markings before. And finally you can just start to see the bluing starting to show up in there. It's so hard to get any images of this, just the way the light reflects off the scraping marks. So this is all the way down to the bottom of the column. We got good markings all the way down through there. So we got about 4 or 5 inches here that just needs to come in. So probably, I think since my last video I took here, I'm probably maybe 4 or 5 cycles. So we're getting there. The problem now is you can't add any more blue, you know, so you gotta keep working it, keep the master clean, keep dust out of it. You know, it's a water-based material, so if you leave it long enough it starts to dry out, and then actually it starts to rust the master. So anyway, we're almost there. Well, after a couple more cycles here, here's where we are. We're spotting all the way down the gib side of the column, and that's pretty good exposure there. I don't know, it's hard to see. It's easy for me to see, but I can tell through the camera. There's a little spot right in here where I'm not quite happy. It's a little light. So I'm thinking 1 more cycle, maybe 2 at the most. And we should have that dialed in.